Good morning, everyone. Benvenuti a Roma, and welcome to the Net Zero Food System event track of NextBite. I'm Tommaso Emiliani. I'm a program manager at Yeti Food, and I'm delighted to be your host on this stage for the next 2 days. Before we kick off, a couple of practical notes. This is going to be a silent system, hopefully not a silent panel, because we have a lot of speakers, but a silent system. And the key to its success is the well functioning of this headphone. So you will see in order for this system to work, we need to be connected to the right channel. So you need to see two red lights on the sides of your headphone. If that is not the case, please make sure that the headset is switched on, and you can push on the button on the side in order to make sure that the two red lights appear. You also have a wheel for the volume in order to increase or decrease the volume. At the end of the session, or whenever you're leaving this stage, please make sure that you drop your headset, or rather you leave your headset on the chair, because otherwise you will be continuing to hear what happens on this stage while you're moving away. Also, if you would like to share your experience at NextBite on social media, please do so by using the hashtag that is NextBite24 somewhere. NextBite24. Also, this event is about connecting people. So it's very important that you make the most out of the experience by networking as much as possible with anybody who's coming here, participants, speakers, including myself. And in order to do that, you can use the events app for networking, which is called Hybrido, and which can be downloaded from the event website in case you haven't done so yet. Now, back to the topic of this event track, Net Zero Food System. Over the course of the next 2 days, we will share ideas and present concrete actions to radically reduce the emissions from the EU food system, while also tackling important issues such as food waste, energy consumption, and resource scarcity. Now, we will do so. um, mm, uh, in other words, over the next 2 days, we'll explore together the fundamental issue of how to address change. As we gather in beautiful and mostly sunny Rome, I'd like to share a couple of thoughts about what we can learn from this city, which is also called Urbs Aeterna, the eternal city, about navigating change. For nearly 2,780 years, Rome has stood at the heart of human history. And over the course of all these centuries, Rome has been shaped by three powerful forces. The first is entropy, the force of chaos that drives deterioration and decay. The second force is dynamic equilibrium, the force that resists change, maintaining the status quo and the stability of the system, for better or worse. The third force that is shaping Rome is regeneration, the force that opposes both entropy and equilibrium, um, preserving the city's legacy while embracing the future. The history of Rome teaches us that the result of the interplay between these three forces has a clear outcome. Change is inevitable. From the crumbling of empires to the efforts to restore the architectural, cultural, and culinary heritage of the city, managing change in Rome is not just about resisting deterioration, but it's about embracing innovation while preserving identity. Much like Rome, I mean, we could say that the three forces that are shaping Rome, in fact, do not only shape Rome, but also reflect the ongoing tensions that are present in all living organisms and ecosystems. Much like Rome, the European food system stands at the intersection of forces that threaten it, of agents that would like to maintain the status quo, and of opportunities to regenerate it. And this, of course, this observation brings us back to the reason why we're all gathered here today in beautiful Rome and mostly sunny Rome, and especially at the Net Zero Food System event track. Over the next few days, we will explore how we can unlock real change through biotechnology and finance. We will discuss which challenges face businesses which are trying to switch to full circularities in their models. We will discuss how we can best empower farmers to heal our soils and much more. So let's take this opportunity to engage, exchange ideas, and build the future of food, of the food systems in Europe together. And now, without any further ado, let's begin our journey with the first session of the day. Our first panel is called From Waste to Resource, Pioneering Circular Economy in Agri-Food. During this session, we'll discover groundbreaking circular economy solutions that turn waste into valuable assets. We'll explore cutting-edge technologies that amplify impact, overcoming the existing challenges to align with efforts to reduce emissions and increase efficiency. Please join me welcoming the very prestigious members of the panel today, starting with Magdalena Kozłowska, CEO of Napi Ferrin Biotech. Welcome, Magdalena. Kasper Kosowski, co-founder of EcoBean. Eva Norberg Karlsson, professor of biotechnology at Lund University. Jakub Maleks, sustainability food manager at the Zapka Group. Dario Toso, circular economy manager for Lavazza. And our very Lorraine Allen, managing director of Brand Innovation Ireland, who will act as the moderator of this panel. Now, thank you all. Lorraine, the floor is yours. You have time, about 35 minutes to discuss the topic. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you, Tommaso, for a great introduction. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining our panel discussion this morning. My name is Lorraine Allen. Outside of my own company, I'm also a business expert with the IT Food Seedbed Incubator, and I've worked in the food industry for 25 years. So very keen to hear the ideas that are going to shape the future of food here this morning. So we're going to explore the circular economy and how it's transforming the agri-food sector. We have a very expert panel here. So, we have business leaders who are scaling highly innovative solutions in the space, and key experts that are driving new initiatives and tools and technologies for future startups, both to drive sustainability and profitability, but also continue our journey to net zero emissions. So I'm going to open the floor with a question to all of you. Also, so that you can introduce yourselves a little bit more and the businesses that you're working and representing. I'd like to understand how you're currently making a difference in your part of the food system to, with what technologies and innovations are aligning with the larger goal of net zero food or net zero emissions. So maybe we'll start with Kasper.
Hi Lorraine, thank you for this question. I think that before I jump into what exactly we do as EcoBean with our disruptive technology, I would like just to grab the context of the market that we are operating at. We are operating on the side of the coffee business, but rather on the side, not on the side of the roasted coffee, on the side of the coffee waste. So we are all aware that we consume huge amount of coffee. It's actually more than 2 billion cups daily. In Europe alone, where it's roughly 30% of the global consumption, we generate 9,000 tons of spent coffee grounds, and not monthly, not weekly, but daily. So we are dealing with a huge issue. And currently, most of the spent coffee grounds are either biocompost or being incinerated. So basically, valorized to the level of the cost of the energy. What we do and what we are coming to the market with the disruptive technology that enables to transform the spent coffee grounds into 5 different resources, being coffee oil, lactic acid, antioxidants, protein additives, and lignin. and then we can these ingredients can be easily applied to different industries, starting from beauty industry to cosmetics, petrochemical, ending even in pharmaceutical business. And we have already managed to valorize 1 ton of spent coffee grounds into 8,000 euro. So the impact can be huge. And it's not only that, because we are also making an environmental impact by avoiding CO2 emissions at the level of 3 tons from each ton of spent coffee grounds, which is not only our internal claim, but this is certified by Bureau Veritas, so this is a pretty solid statement. And yeah, so we are trying to change the perception of the coffee as not as a linear resource, but rather, let's say, circular asset. Yeah.
That's incredible. And there's obviously a lot more to do in the supply chain and value chain, and I'm sure that's probably part of your vision, which we can talk about later.
Yeah, absolutely.
We move on to Eva.
Right. So my name is Eva Nordberg Karlsson. I'm a professor in biotechnology at Lund University. I work at the engineering faculty. So as part of that faculty, it's of course a great deal that you are doing applied research. So you do research together with companies and startups. We believe that this is an important factor to include the companies in the design throughout the projects, so that we are not moving in a direction that we think might be good, but we don't know what possibilities there are. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is that we are also an educator. So we are working with education, sort of biotech engineers, master programs, international master programs as well. And being part of that, it's of course really important to have courses that are building knowledge for the future engineers. What is expected if you're doing something that's sustainable, for instance? Which types of technologies can you do? Do we have certain types that are more scalable or less scalable? So that's part of building the education as well. So I think I can stop there and just leave
Thank
the
you
word
very
to the
much.
next.
Hello everyone, my name is Jakub Emanuel Malec. I'm representing here the Żabka Group, which is one of the biggest convenience store chains in Europe. For sure it's in Poland because we have almost 11,000 stores, 8 logistics centers, and in this convenience area we have also other businesses like Box Diet Catering. I'm sustainable food manager. It means I'm covering the part of the company which is reducing the food waste in this retail business, but also with the good nutrition. As a company, we are into the sustainable development, and all the actions that we are doing. We are covering this non-financial parts. I just wanted to highlight that from my perspective, the most important part that we are in the fighting in the retail business is which caused the impact in the circular economy is the food waste and packaging. Food waste is a major part that we are dealing with. It's something that we need to. We feel a lot of responsibility on that part. We know that the 1/3 of the food in the world it's going to the bin. So with all the actions that I will further tell you, we think that our goals and our KPIs are set up highly, and we will do everything to achieve it.
Thank you. I think it's a very important part at the end of the supply chain to be ensuring that food waste isn't, for all the resources that go into creating it, that it's not wasted and going into the bin. So
Exactly.
thank you. Go on to Magda.
Good morning, my name is Magdalena Kozłowska. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Napiferin Biotech, a company that is a technology company. We developed our own technology to extract and isolate plant proteins. Circular bioeconomy is fundamental for our company because that's about beauty of our technology. We start with rapeseed, which is also known as canola. We take the side stream, which is generated during oil production, and with multiple stages in our technology, we extract and isolate proteins for food. Those proteins will be used as food ingredients, alternative to animal-based proteins, to soy-based proteins. Our mission as a technology company is to commercialize the technology as fast as we can. Of course, this journey is not that easy. There are multiple challenges as for a technology company to bring such an innovative technology to market, but we are doing fine. So our mission is to bring those wonderful plant proteins, rapeseed proteins, to the market so that they can be used as food ingredients. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone, and thanks for inviting us today and for joining the panel. I'm Dario Toso, Circular Economy Manager at Lavazza and co-coordinator of the Center for Circular Economy in Coffee. So at Lavazza, we started a long time ago our path on circular economy. But today I would like just to talk about a new initiative we launched last year that is the Center for Circular Economy in Coffee. That is a pre-competitive platform together with Lavazza Foundation and not Lavazza Group, because we would like to have also some competitors of Lavazza in the center, and Politecnico di Torino, University of Gastronomic Science, International Coffee Organization, and two agencies of the United Nations. And the idea is to gather all the know-how about circular economy in order to accelerate as much as we can the transition, because the coffee sector needs a transition quite soon towards a more circular and sustainable way to produce coffee. We know that in our cup of coffee there is just 1% of, or 5% depending on the brew methods, of the weight of the coffee cherry. So all the supply chain is focusing just on this 1%, and then we are losing the 99 or 95%. And that's crucial to make value also out of this 95%, and that's why we started this initiative.
Very
Thank you.
good. Thanks for all the introductions. So we'll start with our first question. I mean, circular economy practices are not just about reducing waste. They're also about, finding business opportunities and creating, value in the chain and profit for companies. I'd like to hear from a couple of you, what's the business opportunity you see in the circular economy and how it's driving value in your sector? Maybe we'll start with you, Magda.
Sure. Business motivation for Napiferin Biotech is to launch new plant protein ingredients for food. Business opportunity is huge. It's a market worth of a couple of $1 billion, and there is enough space for newcomers to bring new ingredients to the market. With our technology, we want to commercialize it in a form of license. We want to license it to oilseed producers. So those big factories that produce currently from rapeseed oil. We want to bring to them a business opportunity in terms of new possibility of generating revenues. Our technology will not be an alternative to oil production. At the same time, oil producer can generate plant proteins. And in a nutshell, it will be a business opportunity to increase revenues by almost 10 times. And the beauty of our technology and our business proposal is that we will change the way industry thinks about rapeseed, because proteins will be the most valuable ingredient coming from the rapeseed, not oil anymore. And as Napiferin Biotech, as a technology company, we are on the way to commercialize this technology and to license this technology to oilseed producers so that it's a business opportunity to them to enter a new field of generating plant ingredients from the crop that they already have and which is known to them.
It's very much like what's happened in dairy with whey. whey now has become more of a valuable property than cheese. So absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
Casper, you wanted to have a chat about this maybe?
Thank you. It's a very good question because the environmental impact is absolutely a sanity, let's so to say. But I guess that we need a super solid business case to make the shift and to make it appealing for the big industry out there. As quite similar to what Magda was saying, that all the valuable ingredients are still in a waste. I will also refer to what Dario said about this only 5% being of the coffee sherry being used. So if you refer it to a coffee waste, it's like 70% of all the valuable resource is still in a coffee waste. So as I was mentioning at the beginning, we need to change the perception of looking at the coffee. Uh, so um, uh, as I was mentioning, we are already capable to valorize this 1 ton of spent coffee grounds into 8,000 euro. And we are also talking to measure the size of the opportunity if we are able to apply each of the biorefinery puzzle to each of the instant coffee production facility, which generates the random instant coffee production is approximately 30 to 40,000 tons yearly, and all the waste is on the site, it's there in a massive amount. Then we are talking about also 6-7 billion euro business case. So it is something. Of course, this is a huge also and very capex intense story. Um, but it's a revolution that needs to be done, and I think that it is absolutely coming. And I remember when we started EcoBean like 5 years ago. Uh, the market over just those last 5 years has really matured very, very much, and I think that it's about to get serious. I mean, the circularity and sustainability is really about to get serious, and we are definitely walking away from this voluntary approach to something that is obligatory. Yes.
Actually, maybe Dario, you'd like to comment as well from Lavazzo's perspective.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, it's totally true that the coffee value chain today is facing a lot of challenges. So we see that the prices of the green coffee are rising as never before, but the farmers are not having that money. So that's an issue we are facing, and I think circular economy can help in this way, because the farmers, for example, have the main part of the biomass. During the coffee processing, you are losing a lot of pulp, mucilage, and the main part of the biomass. And if the farmer can get value out of that, they can have a more resilient business. So that's one of the main, that's one of the most important goal we are facing with the center. And also on the second part of the value chain, we have the spent coffee ground, and Casper told directly that yeah, we can get a lot of value also out of that. So there are a lot of stages where we can increase the resilience of the business, and that's the main aim of the coffee value chain.
I think it's really important to go back to the farmers. So I think, giving value back at that level of the value chain where they feel it's low value for them. So where you can add value as much as possible is so important.
Yeah. And yeah, of course, and then also integrating the good practices like regenerative agriculture, agroecology, besides circular economy. So everything is integrated, and once you have a sustainable way to grow the coffee, you can also have a more quality output. To use the output for producing cascara, or if you get rid of the pesticides, for example, you have less issues in terms of good contact and novel food, etc. So it's everything
circular
is
in all
related.
levels.
Yes.
On that note, I'd like to maybe talk to Ava a little bit about, I suppose, key enablers, because you're at the cutting edge of new technologies and new tools that are bringing to the market through research, applied research and fundamental research. But we've talked to companies here who've scaled already. how are you enabling the research that you're creating in your university? How are you, getting that scaled and out into the marketplace, and what are the key enablers for that?
Right. So quite a complex question. But we have kind of gone into several different types of approaches. So one of the approaches is actually to keep the companies rather close. We have innovation villages that is surrounding the university, and we have recently, together with a bigger company in Lund, Tetra Pak, we have created this biotech heights, an innovation hub that we want to have the companies in contact with us constantly, so that there should be like a meeting point, a discussion point, where you can go in with your different agendas and discuss exactly what you are telling me right now. What are the sort of necessary components to get things out on the market? We have noticed that there is a need of labs. We do have labs at the university, so we are doing quite a lot of research, but we don't always use everything that we have in the lab. So apart from doing research projects, another idea is that when we are not working in particular areas, they could be also to a small fee used by surrounding companies, so that you get better access to different types of equipment that might be needed for developing your process. So it can be both on the analysis level, but also on scaling, for instance, when it comes to different type of fermentations, and you need to have a certain sort of upscaling to at least to a pre-pilot, what we call it, scale, where you go up to maybe 100 liters or something like that, so that you can get this experience relatively early in your business. And of course, I mean, this is also what we are striving for, is to have collaborative projects so that we can work on this together.
And I think that's key, is collaboration with industry to make sure that what's being developed is applicable in the real world. And I think that's
exactly.
a core kind of, I suppose, having a multidisciplinary approach and having a commercial and scientific kind of parallel path is incredibly important.
So I think it's important, and I mean, the university also have an innovation department, so that companies that are then actually spinning off can get some initial support also in starting up their business.
And actually that brings me on to my next question, maybe from Magda or Casper, which is around, how did you find that early scaling journey, coming from having a technology and then bringing it to market to where you are now? Because I think that's going to be really important for some of the people here who are early stage.
Very good question. The answer is not straightforward. The first challenge that we faced was, of course, money. So how to get funds. We invited to our company venture capital fund, and that's how we got our first million. We were able then to hire people, rent laboratory space, and the goal was to scale our technology from grams, from a very small vial, up to a few grams, then a few hundred grams, and now we are at the stage of a few kilos per one technological batch. And we also, with the scale up of the technology, we also had to scale up analysis of what we can do with our plant protein ingredients. So we not only have a semi-pilot plant where we generate the material, but we also have analytical lab where we can analyze all the functionalities and physicochemical properties of our ingredients. And we also have a kitchen where we cook, where we check the recipes, what we can do with rapeseed proteins. So that's how we spend the funds. Now we are ready for commercialization. For that we need business partnerships, and we need business partnerships which are based on win-win. We don't want to sell our company. Myself as a co-founder, together with the second co-founder, we want to be involved in commercialization. That's our baby. We want to experience that and see the success coming. Up to this stage where we are now, we gathered almost 10.6 million euros to be at the stage of development where we are, and it's a combination of EU grants and also of private finances. For that money, we were able to secure our IP position, settle regulatory status, and to develop technology further. So I would say that's the key enabler for us to get the funds, to get the right business partnerships. And yeah, as a co-founder, for me, that's really important to have the control over the company and to be part of this journey.
To realize your vision is important, and to keep hold of that is
Absolutely.
Casper, how have you found what were the key enablers for your business?
Well, I can only exchange the name with the company that Eva mentioned, Magda mentioned, and probably the story would be more or less the same. So, Ecobin is a spin-off of Warsaw University of Technology. So all the R&D support is enormous, and it's coming, and it was coming, and it is coming mostly from the university side. We also have one laboratory at the side of the university, and the second one high-tech laboratory that is owned by the company. We were also very much supported by our main investor, which is Inno Energy, but also we took part in all the acceleration programs within the EIT. Yeah, as Magda was mentioning, the funding is maybe it's trivial, but it's fundamental to make the change. But I also perceived a huge opportunity for startups in all all kind of partnerships with the market leaders. Yes, to really embrace the change and to make it happen. So look for those kind of partnerships, because this can be a huge accelerator to drive the change in your approach and in your business.
I think more of those industry players are looking for solutions for their sustainability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Programs.
It's a win-win.
Absolutely. Obviously, it's not always smooth sailing in scaling such such technologies. I'd like to understand what challenges you've had on the roller coaster ride so far, and also within scientific communities and retailers.
I think there is a lot of challenges in terms of the sustainable development and circular economy. What I can say from the perspective of the convenience store chain is that we believe there is in any business case, also the circular economy business case, we always have this part which is a cost saving part, and this one which is building the revenue. So we believe as a data driven company that everywhere, first of all, we need to find why the things are happening, why there is some loss, why there is food waste, and why some products are selling better or worse. So we started basically from checking these two areas. First of all, by building the high-level reporting to know what exactly is going to the bin on the part of the shops, because you need to understand that the Żabka group and Żabka stores, convenience stores part, is business B2B2C, so there is some more challenges than the normal business. And because of these two fields, we have mapped both areas in terms of the food waste. The good case to show and to speak about today it's a case of the bread that is baked in each shop each day by a franchisee. We found out after mapping and seeing what is going to the bin in the shops, that we have a lot of food waste in this category of the bread which is baked, and because of that we found out that by changing the type of the bread we are selling, the grammature of this bread, and by changing actually everything in this category, we end up with the good result in reduction of the waste in the bread, and also by far away the revenue on this category. So I think what we are using, actually, we are using the new technologies, we are using AI, we are looking for any kind of new solutions to drive to do this reduction. In general, I think these are the two key parts which are building a good business case for any kind of circular economy business.
I think that's it's a difficult part is proving the business case, and KPIs do have to shift, and business case parameters have to shift in order to, I suppose, realize these opportunities.
But to make any kind of decision, you should have a data. If you don't have this data, I think it's not worth to deep dive to anything. If you don't have a correct data, and it's not actually easy to create this kind of reporting, because there are many factors that can be the case when you have a food waste.
Very good. Ava, did you want to speak about the challenges that the industry?
I mean, there are actually lots of challenges, and it depends a little bit on the raw material, what type of challenge you are facing as well. So in terms of the value chain, what's happening at different parts in the value chain, I mean, there are a certain amount of things that could happen already at the farm. So for this, you would need kind of to involve the farmers in the whole development chain. Some raw materials are pretty sensitive, and maybe you need to do some type of early processing already at the farm site in certain fields, or when it comes to different types of fruits, and there are new blue economy things as well, like seaweeds and fish, and this area where you have very sensitive material. So there you need to have kind of very early types of processing, and the scale may vary. So things need to be scalable, but maybe to a certain extent there is not one single sort of framework that fits everything. So what we are facing right now is that there might be different types of solutions depending on what you are really starting to make a biorefinery of, which is a challenge, but which is a rather interesting challenge as such. So how can you make the most out of the material, and are there some parts that could be sort of separated very, very early on in the procedure? Then there are, of course, the challenge of price. Everybody is talking about the challenge of price and the economy in processing, because you tend to do that when you're doing research. You tend to say, okay, we start with the higher value sectors. But maybe there is also a need to have interactions with regulatory partners, policymakers. What is actually the price of the things that are produced, and how can we affect this in the value chain? I thought it was interesting to hear this talk about the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, where she was looking at the circularity and how much more could be gained in different sort of steps of the value chain. Makes you wonder what exactly is done, of course, in the different steps. But here I think there's a lot that can be done with different types of processing, where we can offer different solutions depending on the material we are sort of producing, whether it's some kind of preservation, fermentation, separation, extraction procedure. So these types of early processing steps, where are they? Should they be located at the company or sort of very close to the farm?
And equally, what the impact of those are on creating net zero emissions. So
Yeah,
because not everything
exactly.
has the absolute impact.
Yeah, and then there is also this question, so then what is the value of the raw material, so that you're not just developing a process based on a very, very low raw material price, that might change when you are coming into a new wave of processing where you have different types of alternatives available. So yeah, a certain type of generalization, I guess, is of value when you're working with research, but it might be very specialized solutions that are coming up also.
I understand. I'm keen to get the audience to ask questions, but before we do that, I'd like to understand, I suppose, what your vision, each of you, what's your vision of where the circular economy is going and what you'd like to see by year 2040. It's a bit of a, it's not too far away actually, 15 or 16 years time, but still, I mean, you all have a very strong vision for this sector and for this space. So I'd like to get your opinion on where you see it going.
Shall I start? Yeah. So, it's simply because when I close my eyes, in those 15 years, I see let's say, coffee industry fully embracing the circularity, and as I was mentioning, starting to perceive a coffee as a not a linear resource but a circular asset, and this is so there needs to be a huge shift in mindset in general, yes. But the business is also there, so we are not talking of some delusional visionary thing. We are talking about really a solid business case. So
And integrated from what you're saying, I think.
yeah,
Fully
absolutely. Yeah, so this would be it in general. Going circular, yeah.
Absolutely. Ava, do you want to comment on where you see research going and what will enable full circular economy by 2040?
I think we have we have a massive challenge, but we also have great opportunities because we are working towards also a bioeconomy. We are integrating food with materials. We are kind of removing fossils from the circularity. We want to have the bio-based solutions. So I think integrated processing schemes that will create the most out of everything that is produced is an ideal solution. And I think that these types of microbial processing solutions may also be a very nice alternative in order to create more protein and fats in principle, because they always need to be mixed for the flavors, so that we can have a future sustainable food production chain that is not overdoing what we sort of sustainably can harvest from the planet. It's a challenge, but I think that we are working towards it. We are very optimistic about finding new technologies and how we are integrating that with new types of energy solutions, with geothermal energy, etc., for instance, in order to keep this balance.
And on that, do you see enough diversity in the science to enable that?
I think we need to strive towards these biodiversity solutions because we can't just create a field on the planet. So that's why I think that these types of biotech technologies where you are using reactors and microorganisms may be good opportunities to expand on how to get sufficient amounts of protein to feed our people.
For our food security,
yeah.
Absolutely. Jakob?
Now I hear myself. Okay. I don't know if I can add something more than Eva said, but yeah, I really believe we have a huge opportunity to change the traction and the stream that we are going now. I think in 2040, I hope we can shake our hands and say, good job, we done, and we are on the track. I still believe that we will find very soon, with the dynamic changing the environment, we found the answer for all the questions we have in terms of the circular economy, and I can see step by step, year by year, more and more solutions for our problems in terms of, for example, the food waste or or packaging. So I'm really, maybe I'm too optimistic in that term, but I believe in 2040 we will live for sure in the all other times, but we will have map and we will have enough solutions to really do almost full circular economy.
Very good, thank you.
By 2040, Napiferin will be a global leader in providing technologies for plant proteins. Our business vision is that at least 5% of global rapeseed will be processed with our technology to get plant ingredients, protein ingredients. And this means that there will be multiple factories around the world, because rapeseed is grown all over the world, and they will be operating in a biorefinery complex. As Eva mentioned, this is very important. And Napiferin also provides solutions for this biorefinery concept, because not only we take a look at how to extract proteins, but we also have solutions how to valorize fiber from rapeseed, also antioxidants like polyphenols and phytates. Rapeseed is a wonderful crop, and there's a lot to do and extract as much value as we can. So that's the vision for Napiferin. But also, once we are almost done with rapeseed, we will be also finding more solutions for other plants, because our technology platform is for oilseeds, like sunflower, like non-GMO soy. So we will be also looking at those plants. And yeah, that's the vision of Napiferin Biotech before 2040.
Very good, very ambitious, but no
Yes.
doubt, I'm sure you'll be there.
Thank you.
Dario, how about Lavazza? Where do you see your business going?
Thank you. I'm quite optimistic too. So I've been in the sustainability sector for more than 15 years now, and I was lucky to have Gunter Pauli or Fridtjof Capra as a professor when I was a student, and they were talking about blue economy, circular economy, systemic design. And so now I think that the things are mature enough to do practical things. So in the last few years, I saw a lot of movement around the circular economy concept, not only about the experts, but also our CEO is talking about circular economy, and it's a good scene. And so
When the
this year,
CEO's on board, that's always important.
yeah, that's the key. And so this year we started the first pilot project as a center in Kenya, and we have deal with the Ministry of Agriculture and the Coffee Research Institute there, and they were super open to integrate circular economy good practices in their strategic plan for growing the coffee sector in Kenya. And that's just Kenya, but other countries are asking for that. So I'm quite optimistic to see in 2040 coffee producer that will be not just coffee producer, but mainly mushroom producer or cosmetics ingredients producer, food ingredients producer beside coffee. So that's my
Some
vision.
new ventures for Lavazza into cosmetics.
Yeah,
Yes,
maybe.
very good. I think we might just have a couple of minutes for questions. I think there's a mic doing a bit of roaming, so please highlight where the questions are.
Okay, thank you very much for the panelists. I think all of you are wonderful, especially the entrepreneurs. Kekpa, am I correct with your name? Sorry, is it Kekpa? Yeah,
Casper.
Casper and Magdalena. Yeah, I love your what you're doing, and I am so much impressed. My question is it only for coffee, your technology, and for grapeseed that you center your technology? Or can your technology be adapted to other areas of the agri-food systems? if they can be adapted to other areas of the agri-food system, does it require modification of the technology, or can it be used as already developed? That's just my curiosity. Thank you.
Thank you. Casper, do you want to go?
Well, thank you for the question. We have actually never checked that because coffee is so much in our DNA that we never even thought about it. We were asked those kind of questions if you can deal with other biomass, but I'm not a bioengineer, so I cannot answer the question. But probably it is something doable. But we are so much in the coffee industry that we have never seriously considered the switch. So
Maybe you need to
the
have a chat with
probably
Ava.
technology can work without a biomass, but we are a coffee business. Yeah.
Very good, Magda.
Excellent question. And the answer is yes. Our primary focus currently is rapeseed canola, but our technology platform, which is patented internationally, it's a proprietary technology, will also work on other oil seeds. And by oil seed, I mean the plant which has both oil and protein. And we have already checked. We are in a European-sponsored project where we check our platform on sunflower. We also are able to extract and isolate proteins from sunflower. That has been already checked. Then the answer to the second part of your question, whether the technology will need some fine-tuning. Yes, because the protein A is not equal to protein B. The fundamentals of the technology will still stay the same in modules, so extraction, purification, formulation. Those gonna stay the same, but process parameters, final tuning of the process, it will need some development. But the answer is yes, it will work on other oilseeds as well.
Okay, I think there's one more question, but I think we unfortunately don't have time. But maybe you can catch the panelists after the session. Thank you for our conversation this morning, and I'd really like to thank the panelists, Casper, Eva, Jakub, Magda and Dario. I hope what you've heard this morning has inspired new practices or new inspiration for your businesses that you're working on. And let's all drive our way forward to the visions that have been outlined this morning. And thank you for your participation and attendance.
Well, thank you very much, Lorraine. Thank you all for this very inspiring session. We discussed quite lengthily the issue of the transition of the coffee sector to the next stage. We are indeed transitioning towards the next session that starts straight away. Unfortunately, it will not be a coffee break, but it's going to be another panel indeed, whose main topic will be the next panel is going to be managed by our own EAT Food partnership team and by our own Director of Partner Recruitment, Jane Brockman, who will also introduce the speakers themselves and the content of this next session. So please stay tuned. Keep your headset on if you're staying on this specific stage. Otherwise, please leave them on your chair, because otherwise you will keep listening to what is being said on stage. And with that, thank you very much. And please, Jane, you're welcome to introduce the session.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Jane Brookman. I'm Director of Partner Recruitment at EIT Food. Some of you may have joined the earlier session on the One Health, but it's my great pleasure to welcome you here today. On behalf of the partnership team, we have a number of individuals from the partnership team around. Hopefully, put your hands up, yeah. So, and this is the second of our 3 sessions, interactive sessions on based around the missions. And the point of the session really is to just give you a little bit of a flavour of the types of interactive and aligned networking that would be available to you and is available to you if you're a partner at EIT Food. And we're going to take the information we've already done our first one on One Health, as I said, and we're going to we're going to basically start with two talks that will give a personal view on the subject that we're considering. We're then going to break up into groups to try and enable us to connect insight into the needs that you might have within this area, and to use this knowledge to help us improve the service that we provide for our partners. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce the two speakers that we have today. They're both looking at me because I've had to ask both of them how to pronounce their names, and I'm probably not going to do a good job of it, but I'm going to try my best. So, Zhao Breitz is Director of Growth and Innovation at How Good, and I believe you're going to give the first presentation, Zhao. Yes, come and.
Hello, everybody. Can you all hear me? Yeah? Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, all of this seems to be working fine. This is the two of us. There we go. So, thank you, Jane, and thank each one of you for having me. As Jane mentioned, my name is João. I'm Director of Growth and Innovation at How Good. And Iker and I were asked to do a little bit of a primer on the topic of greenhouse gas emissions. I have a diploma in greenhouse gas emissions accounting by the GEG Management Institute. I'm also a small-scale urban agroforestry farmer based in Madrid. If you're around, let me know and I'll take you for a visit. I've been a dancer for 17 years. I'm a recreational scuba diver. I love planet Earth. And I'm also Director of Growth and Innovation at How Good. For those who don't know about How Good, we're a sustainability research and software company with the world's largest sustainability database for food products and ingredients. We've been around 18 years, so we're of age now. And we've created this massive database that draws data from over 600 different data sources, including 90,000 on-farm emissions factors for food ingredients. And in the last almost 2 decades, we footprinted 4 million products. So what do we know then about greenhouse gas emissions accounting, right? So the first thing is, when we speak about greenhouse gas emissions accounting, is basically we're measuring the masses of greenhouse gases that we either emit, that we put out in the atmosphere, or that we remove from the atmosphere and store in the biomass, on soil organic carbon, whatever that is. And we do this over time, and that's why we call it accounting, right? Accounting in the sense that you want to be able to track changes over time in a consistent way. And one of the most foundational and important concepts of greenhouse gas emissions accounting that most people have never heard about is the difference between attributional greenhouse gas emissions accounting and consequential. Attributional is when I'm measuring the carbon footprint of myself, a product, a company, a city, a country, the planet. And consequential is when I want to measure the impact of a specific intervention, of a specific policy action. And we should be very careful without mixing the different methodologies for different use cases. Now, we know what is greenhouse gas emissions accounting, so why is it needed? We know that climate stability is really important to sustain life on Earth, and the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere is related directly to global warming. And so back with the Paris Agreement, 196 countries committed to keep global warming to 1.5 degrees versus pre-industrial levels. But right now we're on track to 2.7 degrees of global warming. And over here, we, the food system, own 26% of the responsibility for the global greenhouse gas emissions. And so we have responsibility for the problem, but the good thing is that we also hold a lot of the potential for mitigation and for action. But it's not just about, the planetary case, right? There is a very strong and compelling business case as well. At How Good we work with some of the world's largest retailers on helping them communicate to shoppers the most carbon-friendly and climate-friendly products on shelf. And what we know is that when you do this, products that have lower carbon footprints are growing 23% faster than conventional products. So there is a really strong and compelling business case because shoppers are looking for products like this. Now the question is, okay, I know what is greenhouse gas emissions, I know why it's important, how do we measure it? So traditionally, you'd have two sets of approaches. One where highly granular studies that they would take a lot of time to basically conduct. So you have here high granularity but low speed assessments where you commission a consultancy, they do a report, they study the footprint of your product, and eventually you have a 200 pages report with the footprint of what you're studying. And on the other hand, you used to have these kind of databases, generic databases, where you would measure the impact of your wheat or of your company using generic impact factors based on averages. So this is very quick, but also not very granular and not very precise. Now the good thing is that right now with the power of automation technologies, you're seeing automation platforms bringing the granularity of a life cycle assessment with the speed of the databases that we previously had. So we're able to calculate footprints much faster than ever before without loss in precision. So what do we know once we start measuring? So the first thing is that on average, animal-based products have higher carbon footprints than plant-based products. So here in the EU, agricultural emissions for livestock are considered to be 4 times higher than plant-based agriculture. And you can see that we start with the ruminant meats, then the non-ruminant meats, then we go into aquaculture, then we go into wild capture, then we go into plant-based, and in the end we have the forestry crops, which can even become carbon negative because forestry stores a lot of carbon in the biomass of trees. Now, notice how the purple bar and the black bar are the biggest portion of the carbon footprint across all of these products, usually representing more than 80% of the emissions. Now, what do these correspond to? Farm level emissions and land use change. What does this mean is that if we are to stand any chance of making the food system regenerative, of transforming the food system from carbon positive to carbon negative, we need to work upstream at the farm and with farmers. Now, having said this, all of these are generic averages. What we know is that the carbon footprint for a single raw material like beef can vary more than 50x depending on the origin, the feed, manure management, agricultural practices. So you can see, for example, beef, the 90% confidence interval varies between 20 and over here 260. And some studies even indicate that the beef carbon footprint can even be lower if you take into account soil organic carbon sequestration that my very dear friend Iker is going to tell you more about. So practices are really important. And we have some new practices, but it's mostly indigenous practices that have shown over and over again that a more productive and regenerative agriculture is possible. Here you see a comparison based on a long-term field trial conducted in Bolivia between 2007 and 2013, where they compared a conventional monoculture of cocoa beans that is used for chocolate with a successional agroforestry system where you grow cocoa together with plantain, banana, grains, fruits, and tubers. And what they found out was that in this system, not only they were able to sequester more carbon, store more water, hold more biodiversity, but also they had 44% higher total system yields than in the conventional cocoa monoculture. And so when we think about the topic of today, which is tackling GHG emissions, it's really important that we never lose perspective that there is not necessarily a trade-off between sustainability and productivity or profitability. We can have more productive agriculture that is more sustainable, that sequesters more carbon, stores more water, holds more biodiversity, that increases farmer resilience and farmer profitability, because they can be one and the same. Thank you. Thanks.
Oh, you got the clicker? Oh, give it. Click on. Thank you very much. And it now gives me great pleasure. Do you want to click on? That's it. Yeah. It gives me great pleasure now to introduce Iker Bilbao to give us a talk around agriculture, soil and climate change and how that impacts onto our greenhouse gas emission measurement.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. That's okay. I am Iker Bilbao. I am from NACRE, from the Agricultural Research Institute of the Basque Country, a small region of the north of Spain. We are a public company, and we just develop technologies in order to improve the livestock and agriculture and forestry sector. And in different research groups that they work in our center, there are different researchers that work in the soil health. Okay, the soil health is the way that we approach the agriculture, the regenerative agriculture, just as agriculture practice focus on topsoil generation, and they told before in the plenary session, and the benefits of the regenerative agriculture are several, like biodiversity enhancement, increase of biological activity, increase of water rotation capacity, improve of soil structure, erosion, reduce or use of fertilizers, and one of these most important benefits is just the increase of the soil organic carbon. We know that we need to remove CO2 from the atmosphere and try to offset the effects of our activity, as and maybe the well used of the, or the better use of the soil could be an answer. That's why the carbon farming starts, in order to see if paying to the farmers in order to remove that carbon could be an answer. But as you see, this stop a bit, because we still don't know what is happening in the soil with the carbon. In order to be the carbon farming, in order to be an answer for this climate change, it's necessary to know what is happening with the soil, with the carbon in the soil. Sorry, it has to be permanent, and maybe as fast as the carbon is removing in the soil can go to, because and it's true that also its soil has its high amount of carbon that can remove. So at the beginning, when you start with this practice, it's very easy in order to increase the soil carbon, but until one moment, because until what quantity? And when you arrive to that quantity, the soil cannot remove more. So, for example, in the case of carbon harvesting, you will be helping those farmers that at the moment have do the things worst, and not those that at the moment, until the moment, have do the things well. So it can be it's not very equity. So in order to understand what is happening with the carbon soil, we have to know how much its soil how much can remove until when, and you have to know if it still is remaining or not with the different practice that you put into the soil. So this is the challenge that we have in order to know what is happening in the soil. We have to quantify. Nowadays, the ways that we have to quantify the carbon in the soil are very, very expensive. So it's no way to spend more money in the quantification than that quantity that you are going to pay to the farmer. It has to be additional. That means that you have to remove more carbon that will be removed in a natural way. In a long term, because it's not possible to remove the carbon and then start as the soil is alive, is going to breathe, and that carbon is going to go back again to the atmosphere. Okay, and of course, it has to be sustainable. That means that those practices that you put it into the soil in order to remove that carbon could produce emission in other ways. For example, if you are using manure in order to fertilize, if you are not using the manure very well, you can another type of gases with greenhouse effect could be go to the atmosphere too. So, in one way you are removing the carbon, in another way you are putting into the atmosphere other type of gases. So, in conclusion, regenerative agriculture has potential to help to mitigate that climate change in order to and offset the CO2 emissions. But there are still a lot of things that we have to understand, and in Naker, what's what we are thinking about and we're working on it. Okay, how carbon stocks are and define how carbon stock changes, how those projects remove or not the carbon. Define the depth in which carbon stocks should be assessed and how carbon is considered eligible for remuneration, because not all the carbon could be remunerated. Time frame of sequestration. That means that all aligned with the same inventory methodologies, and of course, encourage the knowledge about how to monitor, report, and verify the methods in order to know that what is happening over there. And in this way, we are different type of projects that we can see. You will see a poster over there when we explain what we are working on. And so, in conclusion, the remove the carbon without regenerative agriculture is an answer, but still we have to research about it and what's going on in order to define it. So I think that's all.
Welcome back. Thank you, everyone. I hope you had a chance to connect with many people, explore the different parts of this beautiful venue and of the marketplace. Please remember that with your badge, you can go to the startup village over there, and in case you are willing to visit 20 different startup booths and get the code scanned, you have a chance to win a ticket for Next Byte 2025. So that is a little incentive we give to the people who are willing to discover our startup ecosystem. Please also remember that the Hybrido app, in order to network, it will be open and available until the end of this event tomorrow afternoon. So we hope that you create as many connections and potentially value as possible. Now, this morning we discussed coffee, we discussed GHG emissions, tracking, measuring, and so on. This afternoon, we're going to take a dive into the ocean or into the sea or into, well, any marine really mass that allows us to discuss aquaculture and more. Indeed, the panel of this afternoon, because it's going to be the only panel of the net zero food system track of the afternoon, it's called Biorevolution, Turning Waste into Wealth in European Fish and Aquaculture. And it's going to be interesting. I don't know about you, but well, it would be interesting to wonder how biotechnology is revolutioning European fish and aquaculture production by transforming waste and byproducts into valuable resources. This is a question that is very poignant today, of course. This session will be enlightening, hopefully, and we will delve into innovative techniques and sustainable practices that harness biotech's potential. Let's discover how these advancements not only reduce waste, but also enhance efficiency and profitability, paving the way towards a more sustainable future for the aquaculture industry in Europe and for the sustainability in general of Europe, hopefully. We have a very nice panel, of course, multinational, very much so, with the very north and the sunny south of Europe represented. Let me please introduce Luca Parma from the Department of Veterinary Medical Science of the University of Bologna. Gudmundur Stefansson, food scientist at Matis from Iceland. Gonzalo Amorin, executive director at Building Global Innovators, and our moderator, Professor Maria Isabel Medina Mendez, professor in food chemistry from the Institute of Marine Sciences of Vigo and member of the Spanish National Council of Research. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and my dear lady, please, the floor is yours.
So thank you very much, Tommaso, for your nice introduction, and welcome to everyone in this, I hope, exciting session. The only one, I think, about marine and blue technology and biotechnology. So first of all, I want to thank the organizers of AIT Food for inviting me to organize this session. And of course, the participants, Gudrun, Luca, Gonzalo, for accepting my invitation and for sharing with all of us today their high expertise and vision in this exciting subject. Welcome to everyone. I really hope you enjoy the session. So when we talk about blue biotechnology or marine biorefinery, in short words, we can say that our aim is to refine marine biomass to transform it into high valuable products. How to do that? Well, it's not an easy road map, and we can try here to talk and discuss a little bit about how to do that, the challenge and the advantage. The first thing when we think on blue biotechnology is on blue biorefinery is that it's a critical tool for transforming the fish and aquaculture food production into sustainable food system. Blue biotechnology is going to be a key tool to be able to do that. And the first thing that we have to say is for working on marine biotechnology, we need the raw material. So the first challenge is how to get enough marine biomass to create these biotechnological protocols and processes. Well, the first or the easier raw material to get is from the oceans and the sea, is the wild fish or the wild marine species. But nowadays there are many marine species that can be cultivated and can be cultivated in sustainable ways. And even more, or so far, we can say that the yield production of some marine species, we can talk about seaweeds or microalgae, is for some species is higher than the yield of production of terrestrial plants. As an example, I bring here the sample of the seaweed. The cultivation of the seaweeds is the ocean. Is more or less a surface of 0.3 of the global ocean surface. And the biomass produces is so higher as the agricultural biomass produced annually. And we have to say also that the production of microalgae, the yield of production is higher than for the seaweeds or the terrestrial plants. And another source of biomass, of marine biomass for these biorefinery protocols is, of course, that coming from the byproducts coming from the fishery and fishery production, the seafood processing plants. We have to think about that species that are so fatty to be attractive for consumers, or they have too many bones, or they are not so nice. So the consumers don't like to eat them. And we have also to think on that big amount of byproducts as shells, skins, board coming from the fish factories. And also we can mention it, the overproduction of some seaweed that arrive to the beaches, to the coast, and means a strong problem for eutrophication of contamination, and a problem also for the growing and the cultivation of some seafood products or mollusk products. So far, the situation for the wild fish, the situation for the fishery processing plants is completely different from the situation from the aquaculture or marine species cultivated. And we have here experts on both aspects. So I like to invite Surmut, you as expert on the fishery part, to present your overview and your vision of this problematic.
Thank you, Isabel, and thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel. Now, fisheries, as Isabel has said, is basically the commercial utilization of wild fish. And we have to be very careful here because this is a limited resource. And we in Iceland, we have in a way learned the hard way that we have to do this in a very responsible and a very sustainable means of utilizing the resource. Now, coming from Iceland, I tend to focus on what we are doing in Iceland, and this is what I'm going to do this afternoon. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the fisheries in Iceland. We are not one of the world leaders in catching fish, but we are very dependent on fisheries. It's about, if I remember, the fisheries and processing sector is contributing approximately 7% of the GDP for Iceland, and it's responsible for about 40% of the export value of goods. And keep in mind that we export about 98 to 99% of what we catch. Iceland is a small nation. Now, our main fish species is cod. And this one species gives 40% of the value of the export, but it's still only 20% of the amount of fish we catch. And what we have learned is that we cannot catch more cod, but what we can do is we can create more value from each fish that we catch. We see a dramatic change in the companies in Iceland during the last 20 years. And this I can relate to the fisheries management system that we have built up, which is in a way unique for Iceland. And what the processors or the fishers are doing now is that they focus very much to the consumer. And we, as consumers, have no idea how to handle this. We don't know how to fillet them. What we like is just a piece of fresh fish on a table in front of us. But the fillet is only about 40 to 45% of the weight of the fish. So what the Icelandic fish process are doing now is basically they have coordinating the fishing and the processing in order to produce fresh fish for the markets in Europe and US. They have set up routes to bring the products onto the market. That means they have very good means of utilizing 45% of the cod. Then we have the heads. Then we have the backbone. We have the skin. We have the intestines. And we have the trimmings. So these are all byproducts. And what we have seen in the last 20 years or so, a lot of ingenious ways of utilizing these byproducts. So now if I look to the statistic of Iceland, which tells me the export of goods from Iceland, we see approximately 80% of the fish which is being landed, the cod, is being used for various products. We dry the heads, or we remove the cheeks and the tongues from the head before that. We dry the heads and the backbone, and we export that as food products. We use the liver for fish oil or for omega-3, or we can it. We use the roe for various dips, which we can find in stores here in Europe, tarama salata, or whatever it's called. We have also means of utilizing the trimmings. And part of the intestines are used for enzymes, which go for the pharmaceutical industry, or they are used for various other interests. The fish skin was for a long time a problem for us. We saw some clothing or even shoes where you could see fish skin being used. 2-3 years ago, we set up a factory focusing on producing collagen from fish skin. And now, for instance, in Iceland, the most popular drink is called Collab, which contains, if I remember correctly, about 10% of fish collagen. And another, in a way, brilliant idea from a small company starting about 10 years ago was actually to use cod skin as a human skin substitute for treating of wounds. They started off slow, but they got FDA approval a few years back, and last year they were sold off, if I remember, for $1.3 billion US dollars. So hugely successful and a brilliant idea. And we see a lot of these things happening in Iceland, and as I say, the backbone behind this is the system we have set up for sustainably using the fish resource. So thank you, Isabel.
So thank you very much. So we have here the vision, no, from the fishery, the wild fish sector. How about the aquaculture, Luca?
Thank you, Isabel, to invite me to this talk. Yes, if from one side fisheries must be managed carefully, and we have to preserve marine ocean, and just to optimize the values of all these value compound. Aquaculture is now the faster growing food production sector in the world. More than 50% of the aquatic food is already coming from aquaculture. So it's an extremely strategic sector now for EU. EU has set the new strategic vision 2130, and aquaculture has to grow more in EU. We still import more 70% of aquatic products. So that's let's say is the political vision. And why? Because aquaculture is, of course, it's one of the lowest production sector that can be with a low carbon footprint impact, but still has a lot of challenges. These challenges are related to the input of course, of protein, because when we raise fin fish, we need the protein. But that's the great value of aquaculture, because fish are excellent organisms that can convert raw material that are not used for other purposes, for human, for other animals, in very efficient way, and they can still produce really high value compound, healthy food, so what they now are called healthy food, blue food. And aquaculture has also an opportunity to be raised, to be produced in a circular way. That's why, because it's in the nature. In the nature we have a circularity. We have organisms that live on different trophic level, so that is a great opportunity to reproduce this in, let's say, in controlled condition, and in that way we can, of course, goes towards what is called the green transition also, and is very, very important that we become more sustainable, and also that we provide a solution for what we will have to face. This, the climate change will affect strongly also this sector, so we have to be prepared, and aquaculture can have to, let's say, be prepared against climate change, but can have an opportunity to mitigate as well climate change, because some way to raise algae, microalgae, but also wetlands, ponds, brackish area can have a great impact to with climate change mitigation effort. So there is a lot of still working ahead, and that is will be very important to sustain this strategic sector. Thank you.
So thank you, Luca. And Gonzalo, what is your opinion as accelerator in innovation in this sector? What is your opinion?
Well, a lot has been said about natural fisheries. Let's say there's a limit what we can catch, and we reached that limit, and now we have to maintain it at a sustainable level. Luke has brought us a perspective of aquaculture. Unfortunately, Europe is not doing yet all it can do there, so we need to create more units so we are more self-sufficient. And 70% of the fish we consume is coming from sources around the world, which is not the best way to do it. So we need to accelerate this adoption of certain aquaculture practices. Now, what our take and our vision is that we have to move from, let's say, a mono-product system to a linear system into a circular system in aquaculture. We started 3 years ago visiting a lot of farms in Norway and the Nordics, which are pioneers in this aquaculture system, especially in salmon and so on. And we realized that there's still a lot of opportunity in terms of circularity. So what we've done, we've tried to take the best of in-class and state-of-the-art solutions in RAS, recirculation aquasystems, aquaculture systems, that use bacteria for converting ammonia, which is produced by the fish, using that ammonia with bacteria converting it to nitrates, and then nitrates of course can be used to feed plants, for instance. Yeah. We installed 360 hydroponic towers, and we are circulating these micronutrients using carbon activated fibers and filters to extract these nutrients from the water. And what we see is that the plants do like these nutrients because they grow faster. And not only the microbiome from the fish gut is also, let's say, helping a catalyst in the process. So the plants also smell better. So we have now the first batch. This is we installed 1,000 square meters, which is now a small installation in Nazaré in Portugal. It was a 1.5 million euro investment so far, but we are looking now to scale it out for, 20,000 meters or something like that. And maybe developing these concepts where also with the microalgae we can use, let's say, to the best of water usage and energy efficiency systems, we can really take every byproduct of industry, the same that Iceland has done with cod, we can do it with inland aquaculture, and that's our approach. We do need technology to do that. We do need pumps. We need those control systems, data digitization systems. So it's a controlled environment, which again protects us against also weather events. We are seeing in natural agriculture and aquaculture is being impacted by heat, cold, snow, and so on. So we try to prepare for what's coming next 10 years. But yes, aquaculture needs to be a bit more circular, and we are pioneering some approaches. There's still a lot of challenges to be solved.
So you have mentioned proprio a biotech protocol using bacteria for fermentation and so on.
Yes, our goal is to understand the microbiome in the RAS system, so the biofilters.
Yeah.
How this microbiome can be tuned to the best of the fish welfare in a way, how they feel and how they behave, but also how this microbiome can be useful for plants.
That's
So
a
it's-
very nice example of how to apply the brew biotechnology.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So I'm talking because you have also mentioned 1 million euros and so on. The economical sustainability plays a critical role also here. So Gudrun, from your experience, what are the drivers for a company or for the government to impulse these blue biotechnology processes and to make profit?
Yes, absolutely true. Um, Now in Iceland, in a way, the backbone to the development I was describing earlier is the fisheries management system. Because through the system, the processors, they know beforehand how much they can catch, and they can start making plans. They can also start building the infrastructure. And what we see they've done is they've invested in processing. And it's not just filleting machines. These are actually high-tech processing facilities with jet cutters, robotics, automatic, automatization. It's incredible throughput that you see through those factories. So definitely this is the backbone. The second thing which I would like to mention is that if you're thinking about making value for byproducts, the first thing you need to do is to treat the byproducts not as waste, not as trash. You need to focus on them just as much as the other raw materials. You remember I was talking about the skin that suddenly turned out to be more valuable than the rest of the fish. This is the key. You need to focus on the byproducts as being valuable resources that you're going to make value from. The third point you need to keep in mind is the economic incentive. You need to have some kind of idea what you're going to do. It's not enough just to want to utilize the byproduct. You need to have an idea that you can, or a need on a market for that particular end product. And the fourth point I would like to raise is collaboration. Some of the things I mentioned earlier, this didn't happen overnight. It took 20, 30 years for many of those ideas to turn into reality. So cooperation between universities, processors, research organizations like MATIS, and the entrepreneurs. Because keep in mind, the processors or the fishers, they are expert in their fields. But so they would like maybe a company on the side focusing on what they can do without defocusing what they do best. So sometimes, if that turns out to be a good thing, they will invest in the entrepreneurs, and that can give great value for everybody involved.
Okay, thank you, Gudrun. Thank you very much. So, what do you think? Can you give us an profitable example of the biotech protocols in fish farming or in marine species farming?
Yes. Thank you for the question. Yes, as I said before, fish are excellent, capable to utilize raw material. Raw material from, let's say, of course, from the fisheries already in the aquaculture field. Since I'm a fish nutritionist, I collaborate with industries already in the aquaculture field. More than 40% of the fish meal is already coming from the trimming. And now there is a much more great interest in to substitute fish meal, but also vegetable protein that compete with human consumption. We have been working 20 years to reduce fish meal with soy protein, for example. Now we are trying to reduce soy protein because we are competing with human. And we found that the fish are, for example, excellent bioconverters of, for example, bacterial meal. So it will be essential to work in this direction. Already single-cell protein are an excellent, have been demonstrated that are an excellent valuable raw material as protein sources which match both the amino acid profile, but also they can provide a functional ingredient, because the nucleotide, the nucleic acid, has been proved that have immune properties, can modulate gut microbiome in the animal, so supporting the health, and as well as the microalgae can be very, very good sources, yeast as well for the feed of the fish. So this is, I believe, is the direction, and of course biotechnology now are improving a lot. Fermentation processes, hydrolysis also of a co-product from the fisheries can provide excellent bioactive peptides that are not only sources of macronutrient, because remember most of the aquaculture in EU is made with carnivorous fishes, so we need protein, but we need also functional feed to guarantee the health. The health and the wealth of the animal is more and more important in the One Health concept of the aquaculture perspective. So this is direction, and of course aquaculture will provide more and more raw material that has to be processed, because consumers in the EU, for example, want more and more ready to cook products. So we will have more and more frame, and that can be converted in raw material that can be utilized within the aquaculture chain. For example, from shrimp, we can use product in other fish, but already in the Mediterranean aquaculture, salmon oil is already great value compound to be used. So this is the aquaculture has thousands of possibility of circularity. Of course, the quantity, the stability of the raw material, the constant the price, and of course also the geopolitical situation are a key player when we are talking about price. Feed company wants to have these four let's say point: stability, quantity of raw material, and of course price and quality. Yeah. Thank you.
Of course, I totally agree, Luca. And talking about how to make higher profit from this bioprocess, Gonzalo, it has been suggested that it's possible to design multi-product biorefinery protocols and procedures. Do you see that it could be feasible this way to proceed?
That's definitely the opportunity here. Of course, there's many challenges to be solved when we move from one product to multi-products, because what we see, for instance, or what we saw from industry, the incumbents, if you produce salmon, you produce salmon. If you produce kingfish, it's the only product. You don't really go into other streams. But the challenge is a cultural one, of course, from the companies that are incumbents. And this provides an opportunity for newcomers. And we see ourselves as a bit of a newcomer in this field. There's risk involved because we are going from just one product to also you're producing vegetables and greens and microgreens and aromatics and microalgae and culture media. So we produce a lot. We want to produce a lot of products out of an aquaponics installation. So it's definitely a challenge because you need quantities, you need to negotiate with different sorts of, let's say, customers you're supplying with. And some are Luca mentioned the raw materials, the stability. Some are dependent on each other. So, you know, it's a systems approach. So what goes in comes out in different forms. So it's definitely much more complex. That's for sure. And instead of managing just one product, you're managing several products, which can be good because if one goes up, the other one can go down, and you're more diversified. But at the end of the day, is as Gudmundur mentioned, is trying to find the right application that provides more value per kilo of. For instance, right now we are looking at microalgae, which is going to be produced not in batches but in line, using extra nitrates in water. It's fantastic at absorbing nitrates, so to depurate the water, and we see that this microalgae can have a big role in as a biofertilizer in agriculture. So when we talk about the regeneration of soils, we talk about, and we are deeply involved in that in European food projects, but elsewhere in also European projects, Lilos for Soils, the big projects where we are working at multinational level. And there's mainly two aspects here. It's again microbes, so we need to bring back life into impoverished soils, and one way of doing that is to extract the microbes that are missing the soil, inoculate them in culture media, and then propagate these media so that we can kick off again life in soils. And of course the soils have to have water, they have to have organic matter. It's a system, a structure, but it's a huge opportunity. And according to our calculations, just to wrap up, we see that the typical chemical basis, synthetic basis, fertilization, and all the, let's say, the irrigation that goes into per hectare, on average, in different crops, we can say around 3,000 to 5,000 euros per hectare. What we see with these approaches, we can reduce that to a tenth of the cost. So there will be opportunities. There will be big. It's a huge market, and I see in the next 5-10 years a big shift from, let's say, synthetic inputs into more bio-based opportunities. So the market is still small, but is growing.
Okay. So talking about this subject, Gudrun, why do you think that we can see different perspectives from one country to other country?
Yes.
Because it seems that there are countries more active than others.
Yeah, I think in Iceland we set up a system that suited us. I mean, if I look to a country close to us, Norway, that also have a huge resource when it comes to cod, their system is completely different. They also have a very sustainable means of utilizing the cod, but fishing and processing is not on the same hand as you would see for the big companies in Iceland. So basically, the companies in Iceland are what you would call vertically integrated. You control the fishing from the processing in order to meet the market demand. This is not the way they deal with the cod in Norway. Actually, they still export quite a lot of the fish in a way unprocessed. They just take the head off and the intestines, and the rest is then exported as raw material. Whereas we would not do that. I mean, I think 60%, 50 to 60% of the cod from Norway is actually being exported like this. Whereas we would, I think the figure from us is maybe 5%. So we tend to focus on high value on those markets, which also means that we have a lot of byproducts, which means we have to focus on how to utilize that.
Okay.
So from that perspective, we have the need to focus on the byproducts and how we can utilize them. And I think we have been very successful for many of the products, but we still have a lot of work to do. I mean, we still need to improve what is being done for the parts of the intestines, etc., etc.
Okay. But it's a very nice example. Luca, Gonzalo, what do you think about our South countries? We are in the same position? I mean, we are motivated to do that, and now motivated.
You want to go ahead first, or okay? So southern countries have a lot of, let's say, exposure to maritime waters. I think we need to learn with the incumbents, the guys that started it. We eat a lot of Iceland cods, which is fantastic, especially bacalhau in Christmas. Now we need to learn, and I will tell you a story how we started into aquaculture. We started with an idea. Norwegian partners approached us and said, "Hey, we want to build a 12,000-ton salmon facility in Portugal." And I said, "That's huge. That's 12 hectare. It's huge. It's big." And then we started doing the economics and numbers, working all the variables, and we thought it would be quite an energetic challenge because salmon, for instance, is a cold species, a marine species, of course, and it can be. There are some experiments in freshwater as well in the US, but that's not yet proven possible. But the energy we would spend to cool down the water to, let's say, 10, 12 degrees, it would be huge. So just an assumption, from Norway, because there's a lot of fjords, and we would assume that temperature profiles, and we've done some studies around Nazaré and until 200 meter down, it's around 15 degrees C. So we would need to refrigerate, remove heat from the water at huge quantities, even using RAS, recirculating aquaculture systems. So we found that it would not be a suitable species. And so we understood that, okay, salmon is good for the Nordics, but what is good for us? And we looked at different species, and we found that, in Spain you have in Cadiz a fantastic example, Futuna Blue, using Lalandi, Seriola. And we found that there's one autochthonous species also from the Azores in Portugal, which is Revoliana. So Lalandi again, it's a high value species. It's around where ex-works price of salmon is around 6 to 6.5 euro kilo, head and gutted. These kind of species, we're talking about 16 to 18 euros per kilo, and they are not farmed yet. They are not the stocks. There's wild stocks, but there is what there is. You cannot catch more. Okay. There's limits.
Yes.
So our idea is to develop further the feasibility study of deploying maybe 2,000 tons, in creating the market, because there's no aquaculture market for this species. So we have to test, we have to do some organoleptic tests, fish feed tests. What can we feed these species? Think about welfare. They are bigger species, 1 meter in size. Design these units, make sure they are stable in terms of microbiome water, what they like, what they don't want. And this is the process we are at now. But I believe that Portugal, Spain, France, Northern Africa, and Italy have Croatia as well, have a fantastic opportunity to be more active in these areas.
Okay, I agree. I think that it's time to invite to the audience, to the public, if you want to ask any specific question, to just make profit that they are really high experts on the matter. So I don't know if there is someone that want to ask any question.
Hi, thank you very much. My name is Victor Robledo. I'm from the United States. I'm now living in Copenhagen, Denmark. My question is, as a startup entrepreneur, how easy would it be to engage with, possibly to have access to fish skins, the heads, just to engage right from the startup perspective with you guys?
Good. I think that you can.
Thanks for the question. It shouldn't be too difficult in terms of if I just take the cod, we are cutting somewhere around 220,000 tons. So heads and skin shouldn't be an issue. But once we see that the demand for the raw materials like skin is increasing, which I hope is happening now, then it will probably be more demanding for future. Does this answer the question?
Yeah, thank you very much.
If you're interested in freshwater species, we can supply you jade perch for your experiments. I don't know about your startup, but it's a question of exploring the applications and so on. And it would be nice because in this case we are selecting exotic species which can answer, of course, the challenge of human food demand increasing, but are scalable. So we are trying to select the right species for the future, 10, 20 years down the line with protocols for, we were talking about just from egg all the way to adults that can be processed and so on. But it would be nice to understand what is there, in terms of acid, fat profiles and omega-6, omega-3. The reason why we chose jade perch, which is an Australian species, was very simple because there's information research that omega-3 is 3 times more dense compared to salmon. And of course, this is where we need humans to get our nutrients from. But happy to connect and explore.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if anyone wants to ask.
Isabel, I'm afraid we need to wrap up.
Yeah. So
Maybe some concluding remarks. This
yeah,
was
some conclusion
extremely
remarks or maybe a message to take away, a very short and brief message to take away.
Sure.
You, Luca?
Yeah. I think from the perspective of aquaculture, we need still to incorporate much more research, stakeholders, and of course consumer. We have to communicate more and more consumer because still aquaculture is not well known, and the possibility of around this circular food production system are amazing. But from one side, we have to go towards novel circularity and production systems such as macroalgae, microalgae, but we don't have to forget that still the reality of this sector is the production of farm fish, so we have to also to support this sector in this transition.
Okay, so concluding idea, I mean, thinking from, let's say, a scalability perspective, I think we, the entrepreneurs, we need to prove that what is the protocol for, let's say, if you're doing IMTA in our case, it's integrated multi-trophic agriculture. I think if I was an investor on the other side, thinking how can we do, 10,000 tons unit, because this is where the money is. You need quantities, you need the forceability, you need to negotiate contracts with the market and so on. What is the protocol? Tell me, what is the algae? What is the fish species?
Yeah,
What is the size? What's the economics? And of course, what in our case, what are the aromatics that we are going to produce, and what is the uniqueness of the product? Each one of these products, how much energy you spend, how much water you spend, and me as an investor, how am I going to differentiate your product from whatever is out there? So it's these kind of protocols that enables to scale.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I think we have learned in a way the hard way that we have a limited resource and we cannot catch more fish. What we can do, however, is to focus on what value or how we can create more value from what we get ashore. And this is what we have been doing in Iceland, and we have come up with, in many respects, very ingenious ways of utilizing the byproducts. And I think that many other sectors could maybe look to the example of Iceland for an inspiration and possibly learn and use some of the setup or systems that we have developed in other food sectors. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So for me, as a global conclusion, I can say that, of course, blue biotechnology, blue or marine biorefinery is emerging as critical, as an amazing tool to transform our fish production system for both from wild oceans or sea or for the aquaculture into this sustainable food system that the European Union and the global world are demanding us. So this is my final conclusion. Thank you very much. I really appreciate Luca, Gonzalo, Sugur, your help and your participation here. And of course, to all of you for being here, listening to us, and for AIT2 Food for this invitation.
Thank you very much, Maria Isabel and all the speakers. This was very insightful. And in the spirit of circularity, I think we started with the national perspectives, and then we scaled up how we could find patterns across Europe, and then we ended up with a nice, let's say, national taste as well in the concluding remarks. So this was very good. I think it was an insightful session on a topic which is somehow neglected sometimes when we talk about the food systems, although as we learned, there is a lot of potential and growth. And with this panel, we're going to wrap up the Zero Net Food System track for today. Since we're perfectly on time, thanks to the perfect moderation by Isabel, I suggest you slowly start moving towards the plenary stage so that you can grab the best seats, because we will have another keynote address by Tony Hunter. In case you still want to participate and share your experience at NextBite on social media, you can do so by using the hashtag NextBite24. And for the rest, we'll see you tomorrow in this event track. We will have 4 amazing panels on finance, on consumer perspectives, about innovative agricultural practices, on protein diversification, and on regenerative agriculture. So I hope I will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here, and buona giornata.